Wanted to show off my project. I think I took a video of it when I trailered it back. It's a 1996 Infiniti G20 that I picked up at the auction for 300 bucks last month. I'm only just pulling it in now because I just haven't had as much time to pull it in. Wanted to give it a look over. I have driven it a handful of times. Surprisingly, the battery is holding up really well. This and my last auction car, my Passport, the truck I towed it with, I've been getting really lucky with the batteries on these things. And despite this being the third cheapest car I've ever bought, like I said, it was only 300 bucks. It's actually in pretty decent shape overall. The engine and transmission are both good. It does have the check engine light is on, but I scanned the codes earlier today. All it has is, I think it was, what was it, a P0135 or whatever it was, 235, 435 or something, the knock sensor code. Don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, I just know it was a knock sensor. Not that it was tripping, just that it was bad. A new one is 35 bucks. As you can see, the valve cover gasket leaks like a sieve. I'm gonna change the PCV valve too, that one back there with that clamp. That's not that bad. Brake fluid looks like it was changed. These P10s and the B13 and B14 Sentras, I believe those all use cable clutches. This one does. That much I already know. These radiator support bushings are petrified. Those need to be replaced. The power steering soft lines are a bit leaky. Those need to be replaced. Pressure hose is good though. Need to see where I can get them. Rock Auto doesn't have them. I need to see if like the Nissan website has them for sale still. Maybe. I'll see. No misfires. Engine oil is good. Well, I'm still going to change it, of course. Transmission fluid, going to change that too. Going to change that fuel filter. Air filter is good. Power steering fluid, I think these just use ATF. Well, I'm going to flush that out when I change those soft hoses. The window's not busted out back here. You can see the glass is intact, but the regulator's busted. The problem with these things is they don't really have rear regulators available. My only option is to get them rebuilt. There's only one company I know of that does that. I think they're based out in Phoenix, Arizona. I used to have a two-door XJ, and I remember looking into it for that because they don't have rebuilds for those either. It's got just shy of 200,000 miles. Seats are all kinds of fucked up. The door panel is back there. It doesn't have the switch for this window, so I think that was part of the control for the master one, so that doesn't work. I need to get a new one. Power locks work though. Let me show you. Yep. E-brake works. Clutch feels good. Let me put this fuse box. Well, actually, I'm going to check the radio fuse, see if that works. Yep, the popper for the trunk works. The one for the fuel door doesn't, but I can just pry that open with my pocket knife. Oh man, this thing is a bit stiff. Probably going to have to replace those trunk struts at some point. Yeah, the interior is pretty trash, but 300 bucks, what are you going to do? It is what it is. Tires aren't the best, but they're good enough. I mean, I'm going to replace these with RPF ones at some point, so I'm not too worried about it. As far as the paint, I don't give a shit about the paint. This is going to be a beater. Once I get that window switch, I need to see. Might have to replace that left front regulator as well. The passenger side one, well, the driver's side one slips off its track slightly. This one doesn't, so I think that one will be fine. I can still buy the front regulators and the motors. I think you can get the motors for the rear. It's just the regulators that you have to get rebuilt. Another thing you can see there, the oil pan gasket is leaking as well. The Timing cover's probably leaking, but I'm not taking all that shit apart. At some point I might do an SR20 VE swap. My friend Joe talked me into that. It's not that expensive. I think you can buy them for like 1,500 bucks. And you can actually run the stock harness. All you need to do is get a couple sensors for the variable valve lift system. AC is going to get gutted too. You can just run... You can get a belt off, I think, a B13 Sentra, or... No, wait, it was a B12. Or is it a B12? Yeah. I think a 92 Sentra SER, where they offered it without AC. And you can still buy those belts on Rock Auto. Underside, there's not any rust. It's actually really clean. The cat's still intact, although that flange is a bit crusty. No codes for it, though. The brake and fuel lines are still good. Fuel tank is good. Suspension itself is well, these rear arms are kind of crusty, but that's nothing. Sway bar bushings are petrified. Those brake hoses are definitely getting replaced with stainless steel ones. But another thing my friend Joe talked me into is saving up to buy a set of Fortunato coilovers. Those are very pricey, but he actually does a lot of racing stuff. So I'll take his word for it. And I do want to get into that with this car as well. Of course, I'm probably going to have to replace a lot of the suspension components back here. You can see these, the outer tie rods are fucked. I'm going to have to replace the seals on the steering rack. I'm probably just going to replace the inners and outers if I have to take all this shit off. But that's not that big a deal. See, the control arm bushings here are on their way out. Those are going to need to be done. Sway bar links are all shot. I know. A car that's like 28 years old with 200,000 miles needing a suspension overhaul. Color me surprised. But all that stuff that I was planning on doing anyway. It's got probably a slight leak around the rear main, but yeah, I'm not doing that. Fuck that shit. If I do the SR20 VE swap, well, I'll probably also be swapping it over to the QR25 6-speed. Gonna have to do a hydraulic clutch conversion, but from what I've read on the forums, I don't think that's too bad a job. Like I said, I'm gonna replace the stock wheels with RPF 1s at some point. I can probably just find some used ones on Facebook Marketplace. It's 4x114.3s, so there aren't as many of them as there are for like Civics, but you can still find them for under $1,000 used. Other than that, need to find... I highly doubt anyone's going to have any seats. I was checking carpart.com earlier. There are a couple there, but it's like... There's nothing local. The closest junkyard that had any decent parts for this thing is in Florida. And no way am I paying to ship parts from there. Maybe if it's still up in a month or two, maybe I'll take my truck and drive down there and I can stop off and pick some shit up while I'm down as well. Actually, the back seats look pretty good. It looks like it's just the fronts that would need to be replaced. I'll have to see if those are any good. Overall, though, again, for $300, honestly, this thing exceeds my expectations. Kind of annoying that the windows don't work, seeing as I'm a windows down guy. And like I said, the AC is getting gutted out of this thing. I don't use AC anyway. And on a beater car like this, it's going to be an expectation that it's not going to work. Yeah. So, the code scanner thing is actually under in the footwell there. Needs a good vacuuming. I cleaned out the engine bay a bit, all the leaves and shit that built up in there, but that was more so just in preparation for the work I'm going to be doing. Driver's door, the bushings for that are a bit on the weak side. Gonna have to do a lot of investigating as far as parts go. Oh yeah, don't want to leave my pick in here. Oh yeah, needs new wiper blades. I'm probably gonna check the sizes and match them up to Honda blades like I did with the Passport, so that I can use the replaceable inserts rather than having to do the whole blade. I think that's just wasteful. Other than that, there really isn't too much to do. I've already got some of the parts picked out on Rock Auto. I just need to keep an eye out on that stuff. And keep an eye out for some of those interior pieces online. There are a couple of other P10s for sale on Facebook Marketplace, but those are being sold as whole cars. It's like the one time I want to find a part out car to get shit off of, that's the one time I can't find them. Whereas if I'm looking at an old Civic or something, oh, everything's being parted out. I've never been lucky, and I shouldn't expect to start now. It is what it is. Well, that's just about all I can think of to say for the time being.